Hello, many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. The government of Ethiopia has been taking measures to expedite the provision of humanitarian aid to people in need in the Tigray region. The government of Ethiopia hopes that this truce will substantially improve the humanitarian situation on the ground and pave the way for the resolution of the conflict in the northern Ethiopia without further bloodshed. In a statement issued today, the government communication service declared that the government of Ethiopia has been taking measures to expedite the provision of humanitarian aid to people in need in the Tigray region. To this end, it has increased the number of United Nations humanitarian flights and expedited through improved clearance procedures the delivery of fuel and cash for payments by aid organizations. Flights for ICRC, WHO and the European Union have been facilitated to deliver humanitarian aid. The government has also been working to facilitate the provision of humanitarian assistance through the Abala-Mekele route, the statement said. Alleviating the plight of those affected by the conflict is of the utmost priority and a responsibility that the government takes seriously. The government of Ethiopia is committed to exert maximum effort to facilitate the free flow of emergency humanitarian aid into the Tigray region. The commitment being undertaken by the government of Ethiopia could have the desired outcome of improving the humanitarian situation on the ground only to the extent that it is reciprocated by the other side. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs informed different media outlets about issues related to Ethiopia in the past week. The spokesperson Dina Mufti described activities being done regarding HR 6600 and S3199 bills proposed by the U.S. Congress and Senate. The ministry said the bills are not reflective of the long-standing and historical relations of the two countries. Johannes Fentahun has this report.
Focusing on workers in the field of political diplomacy, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Dina Mufti remarks the briefing made by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen to the U.S. Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, David Satterfield, about the two draft bills proposed by the Congress and Senate, which are incompatible with the long-standing and historic relationship between the two countries.
Deputy Prime Minister held discussions with the representatives of the Ethiopian community in the United States on particular issues related with the HR 6600 and S3199. The Deputy Prime Minister briefly explained to the diaspora representatives, this had been virtually, the fact that this bill will hurt Ethiopians and Ethiopia as well. The bill undermines Ethiopia's success at maintaining sovereignty. It is a bill aimed at undermining Ethiopia's political, economic, and security independence that have been attained so far. He expressed gratitude for the Ethiopians' great homecoming and the no more challenge, the no more movement, which made Ethiopia and Ethiopians very much proud.
Reminding the impacts of the proposed bills if approved by the U.S. government, spokesperson Dina Mufti reiterated the call of the Deputy Prime Minister for Ethiopians and friends of Ethiopia in the diaspora.
By the same token, our ambassador in the United States urged members of the diaspora to engage congressmen, senators, and all those individuals that can influence the process. And the need for all Ethiopians to oppose this bill in various forms had been mentioned, and hopefully this will kick in very soon.
The spokesperson further expressed the need to stimulate African organizations like AU and IGAD to play their roles on safeguarding member countries from external pressures.
With regard to the media reports, following the New York Times' accusatory report made under the title "Finish Them Off, Aid Workers Found on Battlefield Executed by Soldiers," the New York Times have propagated the story without further investigation into the matter, and the story has surfaced in social media platforms. Putting the record straight, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the government of Ethiopia expressed condolences on the death of the Spaniard and 2 Ethiopians in Abiy Adi, Tigray, underlining that the area was where TPLF actively operates. The government of Ethiopia also expressed its regret for the death of these MSF employees, suggesting that the deceased should have asked for a military escort to avoid such tragic killings. New claims and accusations made against the Ethiopian government soldiers, such as the one entertained by the New York Times, are baseless because the so-called investigation was conducted by TPLF sympathizers in Tigray who claimed to interview Ethiopian soldiers incarcerated in the TPLF prisons. Ethiopia has gone through different sanctions so far as part of the ploys being cooked up to bring about regime change in Ethiopia. The threats of the latest SR 3199 and HR 6600 are also part of these schemes. Meron Ahadu, founding member of the Global Ethiopian Advocacy Nexus, made this remark in her stay with Addis Dialogue. Shifarau Lakau has sent us the following.
What are some of the short and long-term worst scenarios, if you will, the dangers of this field, and why do they have to resort to such a course of action?
We've gone through a lot of different resolutions that have been introduced in the past year that would like to sanction or that have attempted to sanction Ethiopia and Eritrea. Because again, for some odd reason, and this is because of the influence that TPLF and its supporters have on the different branches of the U.S. government. They've attempted to sanction, to pressure Ethiopia, all kinds of fake news. Coordinated fake news has been coming out about Ethiopia's role, Eritrea's role, the humanitarian aspect, the human rights violations, so-called human rights violations that have been going on in Tigray, even though the UN Human Rights Commission and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission have come out with reports that have debunked that, but that still doesn't seem to have dissuaded the U.S. government and some legislators in trying to strong-arm Ethiopia.
Yeah, okay. You know, Meron, as you know, the United States of America has imposed various sanctions on different nations across the globe. They have, however, blatantly failed, so to speak, to bring about regime change. And the only change seems to be the suffering of the general public. So why has the United States of America failed to learn from its historical mistakes? And why is it threatening Ethiopia with such bills and sanctions?
What has sanctions done for different countries in, that sanctions have been imposed on? We can take the case of Zimbabwe, we can take the case of Cuba, we can take the case of Venezuela. All these have been attempts at regime changes. That is the reason the U.S. government or parts of the U.S. government doesn't like the regime in power. Then what they do is they impose sanctions to weaken the government in power and for the government to collapse. That basically is the end game. So what has it done? Well, what it has done really is it has not impacted the people in power, whether it's in Cuba, Venezuela, or Zimbabwe. What it has done is it has really and truly impacted the working people, the people that are trying to eke out a living, to just try to make a day in and day out. The economy completely shatters, and inflation skyrockets, and this makes it very, very difficult. Jobless impacts the citizenry. So that's where the direct impact comes in. For example, and then Eritrea is a very good example. There hasn't been a regime change, but what it has done is it has devastated the economy.
A city of palaces and castles.
Emperor Basiliscus. Let's go inside and see what it's like. It has a unique Nubian structure and it was registered on the UNESCO Heritage Sites in 1979. This statue was made to commemorate the beloved Emperor Theodorus on January 18th of 2012.
We're here to see some castles. World Heritage Site.
Welcome back. You're watching Addis News Hour. The long-serving Chief Operating Officer at the Ethiopian Airlines, Mesfin Tasaw, becomes the new CEO of the group following the resignation of Tewolde Gebremariam. Briefing journalists, the new board chairman of the airline, Girma Waqe, pledged to maintain the reputation of the Ethiopian Airlines in accordance with the international standards. Alula Teklemariam has more.
Tewolde Gebremariam, who has been serving for over 11 years as a CEO of the Ethiopian Airlines, has resigned for a personal health issue. Mesfin Tasaw, the long-serving Chief Operating Officer at the Ethiopian Airlines, has become his successor. Mesfin has 38 years of experience in airline management and operations in the areas of aircraft maintenance and engineering, procurement, information technology, among others. The new board chairman of the Ethiopian Airlines, Girma Waqe, explains about the reformation of the new board and appointment of the new CEO.
The board that was established by the ministry this week sat yesterday for the first time to discuss his request, and the board approved his early retirement as of yesterday. So Ato Tolda is no longer a group CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, but he will always be with the airline, one way or another. I think this also leads us to another thing. The government decided, the ministry that is in charge of the agency that is responsible for public enterprise, decided to change the board at the same time.
Girma further pledged to maintain the reputation of the Ethiopian airline in accordance with the international standards.
We believe in Vision 2035. If there are some revisions that have to be made, the board will sit with management and look at it. But I believe it's a document that is done very well, and I don't think there will be change from that. But if need be, we'll have a look at it. But it is a vision that we will all believe in, and I think we'll carry it out.
The new CEO is mandated in case of reshuffling and rearrangements of the staff, said the chairman.
As I said, the new CEO will be coming soon. When he comes, and he is going to sit with his colleagues, management colleagues, and come back with a structure to the board. He will submit people he would want to fill the various positions in the airline. The board will look at his recommendation, approve what has to be approved. If there are other questions that will arise from that discussion, it will ask the CEO to look at it again. But all positions in the airline will have to be filled. We don't want any position to remain in an acting position. But we leave it to the new CEO whom he wants to put in those positions and when he wants to put people in those positions.
Mesfin has been serving as the Chief Executive Officer of Aska Airlines based in Togo since 2021. Currently, the Ethiopian Airlines has over 17,000 employees.
Germany's ambassador to Ethiopia, Stefan Auer, said Germany has continuously increased funding scholarships for refugees. The ambassador also commended Ethiopia for hosting refugees generously for long. This was said while Germany marked 30 years of the scholarships program. Goshu Meliso has more from MENA.
Germany ambassador to Ethiopia says Ethiopia is making encouraging efforts to take care of refugees in providing them scholarship. Germany's ambassador to Ethiopia celebrated 30 years of anniversary when German government has begun providing scholarship to refugees across the globe. On the occasion, Germany ambassador to Ethiopia said Germany has continuously increased funding scholarship program for refugees.
Education is key to help refugees lead a self-determined life, to achieve their goals, and to ultimately benefit the societies they live in. A scholarship can change lives. Germany has continuously increased funding for the EDAFI program. That is why we need more funding to support refugees. In addition to the funding that is being provided, the EDAFI success here in Ethiopia is facilitated by three factors. First, a very generous host country. Worldwide, Ethiopia is the country with the highest number of EDAFI scholarships. Let me take this opportunity to express our words of thanks and appreciation to the Ethiopian government for enabling this.
Director General of Refugees and Returning Affairs Tesfaun Govazai for his part said Germany is working with the Ethiopian government to provide scholarship for refugees.
በጀርመን መንግስት እና በኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ፓኬጆች አሉ፣ ሁለት የተለያዩ ፓኬጆች አሉ።
The Ethiopian Meteorology Institute announced that rainfall scarcity across the nation is causing problems. The institute also said that it has been undertaking various efforts to aware the concerned stakeholders in this regard to further the impact of weather conditions. Kasahun Jani has this report.
In an exclusive interview with BBC English, the Ethiopian Meteorology Institute lead researcher and advisor to the General Director, Asaminot Ashom, announced that the recent impacted rainfall across the nation has resulted from the below normal conditions of various oceans across the globe, particularly the Pacific and Indian Oceans.
When we see the current year, the bulk 2022 seasonal climate prediction, so this during this time the central and the eastern Pacific Ocean is under below normal condition, which means the ocean is cooling, so it highly affected the circulation pattern, and it will create deficit rainfall to address the bulk rainfall benefiting areas. So this drought is occurred due to the weakness as well as the intensification of large-scale atmospheric phenomena.
Due to the erratic nature of seasonal rainfall and annual rainfall performance, he said that such impacts occur and there has been severe drought over parts of the nation.
Actually, the southern half as well as the eastern and the northeastern parts of our country frequently affected by drought. This is due to the erratic or the erratic nature of seasonal rainfall, the erratic nature of seasonal and annual rainfall performance over southern Ethiopia, eastern Ethiopia, as well as northeastern portion of our country. So those areas are significantly affected by drought. This is due to the failure of seasonal rainfall. For example, if we take the rainfall performance of February to May, this season is the main rain season for the southern half of our country, especially for the Ethiopian Somalia region, for Borana, Guji, and some parts of southern nations and the People's Republic, including the eastern parts of Amhara. So from time to time, the seasonal rainfall of Berg is shrinking. Due to that, those areas are highly affected by drought.
According to him, the Institute works devotedly to assessing the rainfall performance with concerned stakeholders, organizing a forum to further be aware of the weather conditions in Ethiopia before any kind of drought occurrence.
Our institute, Ethiopian Meteorological Institute, will gather different feedbacks and assessment from its stakeholders, from users, mainly on the rainfall performance, temperature performance, and other meteorological variables or elements. So, for example, we will prepare three forums per year. We will prepare seasonal climate forum for current. We will prepare seasonal climate forums for Baga and the bulk seasons. During that time, we will invite different government officials, different governmental as well as non-governmental organizations to attend the forum in order to take some evidences on rainfall, temperature, and other related advisory services. So during that time, we will assess the performance of the previous season in terms of rainfall distribution, in terms of rainfall amount, in terms of extreme cases, and they will tell us the forecast is very successful or not. So we will assess, we'll use those forums in order to assess the feedback from different sectors. Moreover, we will use different questionnaires, different research in order to assess the feedback of our customers, especially on rainfall and related parameters.
The Institute also said that it has been undertaking various efforts to aware the concerned stakeholders in this regard to further curb the impact of weather conditions in Ethiopia.